Yes, I think let's wait for more people to join, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then we can start. So those who have joined us, this is the session on financing and delivery of better healthcare, the role of digital technology, and it's part of the African Fintech Summit. So like I said, let's wait for a couple of minutes for others to join so we can have start a nice conversation. Thank you very much for joining us for this session at the African Fintech Summit. For the next hour, we're going to discuss the role that digital technology can play in the financing and delivery of better healthcare. As you know, Africa is ahead of the rest of the world when it comes to digital technology. That 10% of mobile payments in Africa is through mobile payments, basically through technology compared to the US and Europe, where mobile payments make only 2% of the GDP. It's also estimated that by 2022, which is basically next year, fintech's contribution to GDP will reach $150 billion. So, you could see that when you talked about Africa, the future is digital technology, or mobile technology to be precise. For this conversation, where we're looking at the role of digital technology in care, we're fortunate to have an esteemed panelist. We have Shakila Kerre, Program Manager, Innovations, Digital Economy of FSD Africa. Ruan Swanepoel, Head of Product Development, Medical Credit Fund. Joe Philip Nzewunwah, Founder and CEO, DiagnoStar, and Priya, Shah, Director, Risk and Privacy Compliance at CarePay. I won't get into what these companies are doing. I think that will be part of the first set of conversations that we're going to have. What I'm going to do is that for the next 3 quarters of an hour, I'll be interacting with the participants on some ideas that I have about digital technology, what they're doing. And then for the last quarter, we would then interact with the audience and respond to observations and questions. So my name is Kwasi Boahene. I'm with PharmAccess, Director for Advocacy. PharmAccess is organization at the forefront of using technology to facilitate the financing and delivery of care. And we work primarily in Africa. So once again, welcome to this session. We got to start on time because we have only 1 hour. So hopefully others will join in the course of the conversation. Shakila, if I can start with you, universal health coverage is important. And we've seen with the COVID pandemic that countries that really have strong health systems are able to withstand the pressures and also build their system to deliver better care for the people. And certainly, financial inclusion is critical, ability to pay for health. FSD is involved in universal health coverage, financial inclusion, working to improve the livelihoods of the poor. Could you share with us some of the lessons that you've learned in promoting access to better healthcare?
Thank you, Kwasi, for that question. And I think I'll segue. You raise a very important point. The importance of finances, access to finance, and we've seen it especially with COVID that governments are constrained financially, individuals are constrained financially, so access to healthcare and access to finance to be able to access healthcare became quite critical. So at FSD Africa, we believe we look at universal health coverage from a value-based care angle. So we want to put the patient at the center, and we would like to ensure that patients get the best quality of healthcare services at the most in a cost-efficient and cost-effective manner. And this means then that the healthcare service providers are also working efficiently, they're working cost-effectively, and making maximum use of the resources at hand, because we all know in Africa and in sub-Saharan Africa, finances are a constraint to access to healthcare. Just like finances are constrained, to productivity, healthcare is also a very big issue. And we do have national health insurance schemes that try to, to sort of alleviate that burden for really low-income earners. But we know these national health schemes have a lot of fraud, they have a lot of corruption. So as much as public finances are available, they're not optimally used, meaning then that not everyone accesses, healthcare services. So in our quest to improve, healthcare access to the overall population and to enable people to access quality healthcare services, we're exploring partnering with a national health scheme to enable them to, to leverage data better so that they understand the patients, they understand the issues that patients face. And this is both from a financial point of view and an access to healthcare point of view, and ultimately to enable them to access quality care. So this is also linked to the healthcare providers, because healthcare providers have a lot of data on patients. But unfortunately, what happens currently is that, when people go to seek healthcare, then because you're covered either by insurance company, whether private or public, then at times patients are subjected to a battery of, unwarranted or tests that they do not need because someone else is going to pay. And at times it just means that people get poor quality healthcare. So we are working towards improving the capacity and capability of both public and private healthcare, insurance providers to understand better, what happens when patients get sick, to understand their demographics, their profiling, and hopefully to provide a system where there's transparency within the healthcare system. We eliminate fragmentation of data, and this trickles down then to the services that patients get ultimately, that patients get access to quality healthcare, and that both public and private financial resources are effective and there's no wastage. And this means then they can be able to sustain that healthcare to everyone in an efficient manner and in the longer term, because there's no wastage of financial resources. So I'll stop there. Kwasi, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes. No, certainly you did, and I think it's important to emphasize that you emphasize the need to build capacity and capabilities from both the public and private angle, you know, the name of insurance sustainability. And talking, let me turn to you, the Medical Credit Fund, perhaps the only impact fund focusing on small and medium enterprises in Africa. Financing this credit fund is doing in these areas.
Great, thank you so much for the introduction, Kwasi, and absolute pleasure to join this panel this morning. So let me give you a brief kind of introduction of medical credit funds. We were established in 2009 as part of the PharmAccess group. And I think it's important just to share a little bit of the story behind it, because I think it's a really kind of a holistic view of how we impacted healthcare as a group. So really, PharmAccess, started early on in early 2000s, focusing on providing access to health insurance. And during this time where, of convincing people that it's a good idea to get health insurance, it was also clear that once you get health insurance and you're paying for this health insurance, you're really starting to say, okay, well, where do I go? Now I've got a health insurance, I need to go to a hospital or a clinic, and I want to get good health, quality health care. So, we realized that this is the next set of problems because there wasn't access to such good quality care in a lot of these communities. So really as PharmAccess, they started to look at safe care, which was embedded to really drive and improve the quality of healthcare and creating systems and processes for these health facilities. But at the same time, we realized that there's a cost, there's a price tag to improving quality in these health facilities, and that's really where Medical Credit Fund came about. Is that we realized that these health facilities, and especially the small medium enterprises, really struggle to obtain finance from traditional financial services and institutions in those local markets. Because they perceive as high risk. So it was really difficult for them, and they had low access to capital. A lot of these businesses are run by the individual doctors. They set up these clinics and pharmacies. So it was really difficult for them to access finance and access credit to pay for improving quality and really to keep their businesses running. So Medical Credit Fund, as you mentioned, it was the first fund specifically established and dedicated to provide finance to the small, medium health practitioners in Africa. And we really helped people reduce the risk and the perceived risk of investing in this sector. And we realized that there's such a huge opportunity and so much, such a big gap that we as Medical Credit Fund can't do this by ourselves. So we're always looking at partners and helping share those learnings to bring in more investors and funds that are willing to look at the sector. And we really believe that it's the ability to improve those medical businesses that will allow for better quality to all of their patients and provide better access to quality healthcare. So that's really the focus of Medical Credit Fund. Just in quick numbers, since we've launched, we've dispersed over 6,000 loans and close to $130 million since 2009. And I'll touch a little bit later on, maybe specifically on the digital credit and digital loans and how that's impacted the market specifically. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot. And so Shakila emphasized financial sustainability. You emphasized the need for investment capital and lending to the health SMEs. So, money is important. Priya, you have a technology company, CarePay, which distinguishes itself from others in terms of looking at how it can use technology to mobilize financing. Can you share with us what's happening in that arena?
Yes, thanks, Kwasi. So CarePay, as Kwasi said, is a mobile platform. So our intention is to provide an infrastructure that connects the three key players in the ecosystem. So it's providers, participants, or patients and payers of healthcare. And this could be any dynamics. It could be insurers, it could be government, it could be donors, it could be your own funds as well. So we've been able to give people, just like mobile money has given people without bank accounts financial inclusion, the health wallet that we've created allows anybody to connect into healthcare. And anyone else as a payer to support them with full transparency in terms of what's happening with the funds that they have gotten or with the program that they've gotten themselves into. So we've been able to give this infrastructure through which different entities can interact, and we work with Medical Credit Fund to give loans to these healthcare providers, and currently we have over 4,500 providers connected to the platform. We also have connected, so we've been able to connect with insurers and come up with more affordable packages so participants can save money on their health wallet and then buy insurance and pay for this insurance in monthly installments or whatever is affordable for them. So we've been able to put up various affordable insurance packages with partners, including telco partners. So I think we've been able to optimize all the partners within the ecosystem who can connect into this digital infrastructure and improve quality, improve access, improve so many elements of the delivery of those care. And transparency, I think, is the main one. So we've been able to minimize fraud, to be able to give these insights to make sure that people can make decisions that are real-time and data-driven.
Thanks a lot, Priya. And the ambitions?
Yeah, so the ambition is obviously to be able to give access to healthcare to everybody, so universal healthcare. We've done quite some projects with county governments and are continuing to do that with PharmAccess and other partners to make sure that the most vulnerable in the society can have their health costs paid for, whereas those who can afford to pay for healthcare can pay for healthcare, and that makes the whole makes it sustainable and something that we can spread across the entire population. So our ambition is obviously to give access to good quality, affordable healthcare to everybody in the society.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We will come to discussing some of the challenges that you face in the course of this conversation. Joe Philip, you've worked across Africa and the Americas. You started as an investment analyst, investment banker, and entrepreneur. You founded DiagnoStar. Please, let's have your perspectives with respect to the impact that your company wants to create in this arena.
Okay, thank you very much. So all through my years as a professional in the financial space, I've had the privilege of working on interesting transactions and building certain skill sets. However, everyone here could attest that the continent's healthcare system is challenged. And as a business person, I also see the opportunity where there are challenges. And not only that, I have personally experienced some of the inefficiencies through some kind of misdiagnosis that almost lost a loved one's life, to even a few of my not just my family members, but my friends, just suffering due to the gap in the healthcare space in the continent. So while we saw that the healthcare space was challenged, we also felt like we need to see the healthcare as a business, so that we could potentially be able to give it that necessary oversight, and also just try and find the best way to close the gap by making some type of impact, but at the same time making a career out of it. So what we are in DiagnoStar try to achieve is we are very particular about the patients themselves. We're trying to democratize the way they actually access care, and we're trying to empower them to ensure that they get the right kind of care. That's why we focus a lot on just giving people the opportunity to seek second diagnosis, because a lot of people might not realize that sometimes they actually are diagnosed with the common illness in Africa, malaria or typhoid, but they might be having something else. And we've been able to support some individuals in getting the right second opinion and then managing their health. So we're trying as much as possible to close that care gap, not just by providing the right providers to give you the diagnosis you require, but also we're trying to get people access to financing for them to actually finance their health. You know, there's a huge rave on fintech and remittance across the globe, which is very important and it's very key because a lot of people see the need for quick transactions. But a lot of people don't necessarily see the need for proper health until they're sick. So what we're also trying to do is trying to find a way to change that narrative. Don't wait till you're sick. Get ahead of your health. If you need to borrow some little financing to actually check on your health, please come to us. We'll provide you with that support. So we're just basically understanding that to close that gap in healthcare, the demand for the healthcare and the supply for the healthcare, we believe that technology has a role to play in creating that balance.
Yeah. Now we'll get to the specific role of technology there, but thanks a lot for that. You know, I always say that when personal commitments meet business opportunity, you see success. So thanks for sharing your perspectives on that. If you've just joined us, you're listening to a session at the African Fintech. And this session is on the role of digital technology in facilitating health financing and delivery. We are here with Shakila Kerre, Program Manager, Innovations, Digital Economy, FSD Africa. Ruan Swanepoel, Head of Product Development, Medical Credit Fund. Joe Philip Nzewunwah, Founder and CEO of DiagnoStar, and Priya Shah, Director Risk and Privacy Compliance at CarePay. Shakila, let's zoom in on technology. What are the specific steps that you've taken to promote the scaling of technology to support financial access?
Thanks, Kwasi. So at FSD Africa, we are a specialist development agency working in Africa, and we work, with the private sector, we work with government, we work with policymakers and producers, just to make sure that financial markets work for all. And as far as the healthcare is concerned, we are specifically, exploring partnerships with insurance companies. I won't name them because of privacy issues, but we're exploring a partnership with an insurance company. Again, with respect to technology, our premise is value-based care. We put the patients at the center of it all, and we're exploring this partnership with an insurance company to improve, their capacity and their ability to analyze data better in order for them to be able to provide better quality services to their clients. So what does this mean? What do I mean by value-based care? What do I mean by data and data analytics? So this specific partnership that we're exploring, we're first trying to see whether we can help them to digitize their claims process, because we all know that the claims process is really, it's a painful process within Africa. It's painful for the customer and it's painful also for the healthcare providers. So we are trying to work with this company to digitize their claims process. And we know with technology and with digitization, then data comes into play, and beyond that digitization. So we will work with them to build their technical capacity to analyze this data in order to develop insights. And what sort of insights will you be looking at? So it'd be for them to understand better, what do they pay out for? What are the health issues that their clients face? And then trickle that down to the healthcare providers, so that when clients actually go to the healthcare providers, given that the insurance company has a better understanding of the issues, the health issues that their clients face, then they're able to, to obtain better quality healthcare. And beyond that, when they are beyond just access to quality healthcare. It's the prevention of it, cascading that down with communication and advocacy. If it's nutrition-based, advocating for proper nutrition. If it's, wellness checks, like for cancer, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, for example, just making sure that there's early detection, there's prevention, so that then the clients don't even have to get sick. So this proposition is going to be bundled in terms of how we leverage technology and data. So it will be to improve the quality of service that clients get, and B, to also improve their wellness and put in place preventive measures so that overall we have individuals live better health quality lives. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, thanks, and you are certainly collaborating with PharmAccess on this. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's nice that we've found each other and mobilize our combined efforts and see what we can achieve. Yeah, Priya, you have emphasized the role of technology in mobilizing. And I know that components for healthcare providers, but also for insurance, that's facilitating better delivery of care.
Sorry, Kwasi, we lost you. Could you please repeat that again? Yes, we can hear you now, but could you please repeat that again?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Yeah, so Priya, if you can hear me, I said that you've described the potential of the digital CarePay digital platform in facilitating the mobilization of financing. And if you can also now share with us more about the other aspects of the technology of the digital platform when it comes to supporting healthcare providers and supporting payers, and how that contributes to delivery of better care.
Yeah, thanks, Kwasi. So as I said, we work with about 20 or so different payers in the Kenyan and Nigerian space at the moment, and we have been able to digitize a lot of their manual processes. So most of you will be aware that insurance or healthcare delivery is delivered through a lot of silos of different systems or systems interacting with manual systems as well. So basically our intention is to digitize the entire process, and by doing that, creating transparency and efficiency for the entire ecosystem. So for a participant or for a client, they're also brought in the center of this care, because you all have experienced this. You go into a healthcare provider, you submit you come in for an insurance treatment, you fill out a form, and that's about it. You don't get to hear anything much beyond that until the bill gets to the insurer. So by involving the participant and by doing all this through the mobile phone, the participant is also kept at the center of this treatment. So they're able to tell when their claim has been approved, how much they've spent on it, if their care has been pre-authorized, and also providers can tell how far down the line they are in terms of getting payments for the care they have provided. All this efficiency translates in reduction in cost, because the provider can be paid faster. They can predict how quickly that income is going to come in and what's going to come in. Whereas when it's a manual form, it's pretty much a black box for all parties in the ecosystem. We've seen patients being able to identify that they've been double charged, that could be by error or it could be due to fraud. So all these elements become much more apparent just by digitizing the process. In addition to that, we are deploying other technologies which utilizes the data and helps the claims assessor make the right decisions or support them in terms of making sure that claims are assessed in the most efficient and comprehensive manner. We also have made all these opportunities for the patient to also give their feedback in terms of how they have been serviced and what has been their experience. And all that information is then shared with all the parties in the ecosystem, of course, keeping privacy elements at the heart of this. But just creating this transparency and information sharing can have a huge impact on the entire ecosystem and drive towards reduction of cost, yet improving quality and access. So we believe that all this data flow within the system has not been utilized to benefit all parties within the ecosystem. And that's one of the biggest impact digitization can have.
Yeah, thanks, Priya, and thanks for the connection. I think you lost me for a few seconds. Thanks for the contribution, and I certainly believe that CarePay platform can transform financing and delivery of care. And you have been a technology partner for the World Economic Forum, and has also recently, about a year ago, won the Financial Times IFC prize for transforming technology. Thanks a lot. I will certainly get into some of the challenges that you face in the later part of the conversation. Ruan, about 2 weeks ago or so, Medical Credit Fund won an award, and I understand that you even beat the Moody's, and this award was on cash advance. So using technology, I'm keen, and certainly the audience keen to hear about what you're doing with the digital lending and the impact that you want to achieve with this product. You are on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much, Kwasi. And yeah, thank you so much for recognizing the award that we recently won for Cash Advance from the Finance of the Future Awards. And I think it's a great testament in the importance of embracing digital solutions that are able to address the needs of these customers in these outlying areas, and the opportunity to reach those healthcare providers that have traditionally been excluded from formal financial services. So I think it's also, if you look at the trends in general today, I think GSMA recently, the reports published on mobile money, there's over 560 million registered accounts, and I think the value was close to $500 billion that are now transacted in Africa alone in 2020 via mobile money. So these are staggering numbers. People are adopting digital solutions. They're starting to use digital means of payment, and I think especially during the COVID times, we've also seen a big push from policymakers to encourage the adoption of digital payments. And why this is so important for us is that we're really reliant on these digital channels and these digital cash flows to be able to deliver our products and our digital lending product. So we also work very closely with CarePay and in Kenya, and we have to share that award with them and helping make that possible for us in Kenya to deliver these products. But in effect, we're able to use the payments that are happening like through M-Pesa in Kenya to be able to do scoring. So as consumers or patients pay healthcare providers, we're able to use that data to make decisions on the cash flows of these healthcare providers, and then provide them with a loan decision, and at the same time recover those loans through these digital mechanisms. So really for us, we're heavily reliant on the ecosystems and these digital ecosystems that are being made available in these markets. And it allows us to, again, tailor-make products, right? So we also, typically before we were able to deliver products like Cash Advance, we were focusing on more term loans and longer type of guarantees and things like that, and less of these short-term working capital type loans. And really that's what the digital tools have allowed us to do is focus more on immediate needs, providing access to healthcare providers on a daily basis or a monthly basis as and when those needs arrive. And they don't have to go through these lengthy processes to be onboarded. And a lot of those processes, as Priya mentioned, can now be digitized, right? So we can onboard these healthcare providers much easier. There's a lot more transparency throughout the process. And we're able to provide them a quick and efficient access to capital for, like I mentioned, working capital, or in some instances, we're providing mobile asset finance. And then again, we're also looking at other flows. So not just the payment flows from the patients to healthcare providers, but also those insurance claims. And we realize that in a lot of markets that we operate in, is that there are delays and there are big gaps in when those claims are submitted and processed until they're eventually paid out to these healthcare providers. And that puts a lot of strain and pressure on their cash flows and operating their businesses. So really for us, it's an ability to have awareness and transparency and visibility on those potential advances or insurance claims that will be paid out, and then able to lend against that. So those are some of the more interesting things that we're able to do today because of more transparency and integration of these platforms and systems that allows us to connect to partners that have that data and able to provide that data to us in a secure manner. And we're able to offer these exciting new products. And I guess, we will continue to grow this in the coming years. Today, we're very successful in Kenya, and we're expanding these products across Tanzania and Ghana, which are two of our other priority markets, and then also in Uganda and Nigeria in the coming years. So we're really excited to see how these products will evolve. And again, as the needs of our consumers and those healthcare providers change, we will continue to follow and try and adapt our products to meet their needs. But it's also very important for us is not just providing that financial boost, but and access to that capital, but also the technical assistance part. And again, the digital channels are allowing us to provide access to those things at a much lower cost, much more affordable, much more easier for healthcare providers, to pass through a self-assessment. They can go through this through a mobile app. And really get an understanding of what they can do to improve the quality of their facilities. So all of those things we're able to now offer digitally and really streamline the process for the healthcare provider to be able to not just get access to credit, but also improve the quality of their facility and understand where's the best places and prioritize those investments into their facilities. And maybe again, just to end on kind of the numbers to give an idea of the size, just since we've launched the digital products in 2016, we issued 4,000 loans and close to $60 million. And these loans, I can mention, is much smaller. When you talk about term loans, it can go up to 5 million. But today we're the digital loans, we're talking about an average of less than $10,000 loan sizes. So it's slightly smaller, and it's quick 3-month loans, to help these facilities just to keep moving. And I guess when we talk on the next section a little bit about challenges on COVID and the impact of that on lending and things like that. So I'll stop there for now. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks. And what also I like about the story that you told is that for some of these smaller healthcare facilities, that when they go to the traditional bank, they are required to have collateral, which sometimes is even bigger than the loan that they need. And with using digital platform, they don't need to meet that requirement, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Correct.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. We will certainly come to the challenges because I'm curious to know how all of you are dealing with that. Joe Philip, so DiagnoStar committed to quality-driven health services, and let me interacting with you. I got some keywords, and so these qualities services should be affordable, it should be accessible, equitable, and borderless. And then I say, wow, how are you using technology to achieve this?
Okay, so technology, like we know, has revolutionized the way people access care. Sorry, I think I lost you for a second. We know that technology is being used in every industry to get access, right? And we're talking about access to care here. So when it comes to healthcare, it is nothing different. Our major objective here is to give people care that works. It's not just a matter of getting people to the front of a doctor or a consultant, but also the right care, the right consultant. And we know that sometimes when it comes to quality, it can be quite pricey. So what we're trying to basically do is we're working with our providers across the world to let them understand that, look, as part of a social impact mission, you could provide quality care to the people that can afford it through our technology, right? So that's one way we do it. Another way we do it is to partner with the likes of, Ruan has made some very solid points on giving financing to people that might not necessarily be able to afford to pay for their care today. So we're trying to also do is while we're trying to focus on getting you to the right person that will give you the right care that you could trust, we're also trying to find a way to funnel or channel you to the right people that could provide you with some kind of financing to pay for that care in the event that you can't pay for it for today. We're also trying to find a way to reach remote locations by thinking of other systems in which people could potentially go to our centers and use our telemedicine booths or call our consultants or customer care to link them through some type of phone interaction for those that don't have a mobile device of any sort that is smart. So we're just focused on using technology to be able to achieve that. I mean, we still have a long road ahead, but I think we're making some strides in our focus, which is that we get trusted care to the right folks using our technology. So I'm quite confident that we're making progress. But like I said, it's a longer journey ahead. We're focusing also on changing the mindset that individuals should understand that, look, they have the right resources to access the quality care that they deserve. And that's going to be part of our strategy to achieve this.
Thanks a lot. And once again, I do apologize for the lack of better connection here. Ruan, I understood that you missed part of my question, but your answer was spot on. So thanks a lot for that. So if you can hear me, Priya, when you use technology, the positive side of it is also that you get a lot of data. And people say that technology, data, they help in democratizing healthcare. And I'm curious to know how you are supporting participants, patients to use their data to improve their own health.
Yes, thanks, Kwasi, for that. As I said, data is a sensitive topic right now, but I think for us in healthcare, one of our biggest missions has been to create transparency and make sure that the data is accessible, visible to the participant, which has not been the case for healthcare in general. So it's been, as I said, a bit of a black box once you've been to the facility. So I think patients really appreciate being kept at the center of their healthcare transaction, and they get to see, as I said, the cost. They get to rate the service. That rating has an impact on the service provider, who can then improve the elements of the service that were not up to par. So if this data is leveraged in the right way and keeping privacy obviously very much at the center of it, a lot of this information does not need to be individualized. A lot of it is anonymized. It's aggregated information that brings the value, right? So we definitely are at the center of making sure that at the end of this, conversation, we're looking at participants being able to in a sense, monetize or use that data to benefit them, whether it's in terms of quality care, whether it's in terms of giving them more access, whether it's in terms of connecting them to the right programs that they wouldn't have normally had. So today we can give somebody private insurance for as little a family for $32. So these are some of the things that were not there before, because the cost of running a normal program is just too high. But once you digitize the entire process and everything runs on a platform, that substantially reduces the cost. Everything is real time, so it cuts out fraud, and we know up to 40% of claims can be fraudulent, or there can be elements of errors to that. So once we can cut out all this wastage that's going on in the system, then you find that the same amount of money can almost double the impact it could before that. So our intention is to double the impact of the existing funds that are there. And today, even with the little efforts we've done in terms of encouraging savings, there's people who have put it, we've got savings of over $400,000 that are sitting in these health wallets. So people, given the right options and given the right transparency and trust, are able to look at healthcare options that work for them. So I think the issue is to give them choice, is to create trust, to improve understanding of what healthcare is all about and what insurance can bring to their lives, and to remove the distrust that has caused people many times to feel, I'd rather sit with the money in my wallet and not buy an insurance cover. So I think what our intention, and we're not there yet, is to make sure more and more the patient is at the center of it, and everybody else in the ecosystem is equally gaining from this data insights. And of course, the data belongs to the participants, so it's for them to tell us what we can and cannot do. So it's always purpose-driven. It is based on a contract that we have with them, and they always have the option to opt out of any of these processing transactions that are going on. But the intention is to create value that makes it justifiable to continually improve these digital systems towards increasing access and continually reducing the cost and improving the quality of care that these participants can get.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Create value, and certainly I believe that you are ahead of the curve when it comes to technology for this. And certainly there are also challenges. And the way I see it and how you've been able to mobilize, I think in Kenya, 4.5 million people using it. I think it attests to how careful you are as an organization in leveraging the potential of data. Shakila, what do you consider to be the limitations and the risk when it comes to data and technology, and how should we address these challenges?
Okay, so I'll start to the first one, which is definitely linked to the financial sector, which is the cost of that technology, because the infrastructure is really quite expensive, and Joe Philip may speak to it. So when people have innovative ventures, to introduce technology to enable access or democratize access to healthcare, as you said, Kwasi, and the cost element usually is an impediment to that. So there's an aspect of looking at, how do people access capital to facilitate that infrastructure development, to facilitate digitization of the healthcare system. And then back to that, I think Priya has mentioned quite a bit the issue of data privacy, which is very critical, and we can't ignore it, especially with digitization. So I know, like, I'll speak to Kenya, we have a Data Privacy Act that was put into place, but of course we need to appreciate that the health ecosystem has its own nuances, and especially when it comes to client health data, that's really quite personal and private, that should definitely not just be shared without certain regulations in place. It's an issue, and it's a problem, at least within that continent. So we need to think about data privacy with respect to health records, and I don't think that has evolved. We're still quite nascent as a continent with respect to that. So there's definitely scope to work with regulators to address the issue of data privacy. And there's the issue also of the technological capability of the healthcare providers or just actors within the ecosystem. And when you talk about data, just analyzing it, so there's there's not enough capacity to handle data, to derive insights from it, to make sense. So we definitely need to build the capacity of people to interact with data within the healthcare system, and that ranges across board. So it could be as early as, you know, university education, focusing on that at that level. And then when you come to private sector actors, you know, building their capacity to be able to handle data better. I know CarePay does it so well, but then, I mean, Priya can attest that they're an exception rather than a norm. And insurance companies definitely need to improve their capacity. And we know with respect to data, even with actuarial data, when it comes to just pricing, it's really a big challenge within Africa because we don't have capacity to just maximize data or just use the data that we have in existence to make sense to us as a continent. And then when it comes to the customer side, so there's an issue of digital illiteracy. So as much as we have, you know, wonderful products, we have technology that people can access healthcare, you know, digitally, then there's a limitation from the consumer end that not everyone is literate enough to be able to access those digital services. And there's also the issue of affordability. So if you need somebody to have a smartphone, maybe to access an app, if you need, you know, that means people need to have a smartphone to be able to afford a smartphone. And there's also the issue of internet access, you know, so not everyone can access, not everyone can afford actually that internet. So, but service providers have worked around that. I know people use offline apps, people have managed to use their USSD so that even using feature phones, then people can still access digital services. Thank you, Kwasi.
Yes. You know, certainly there are challenges there, and you know, interconnectivity, as we mentioned, is key. And so, you know, what are the solutions there? Offline services certainly do help. And there are also issues around gender divide in technology, and all those things have to be addressed. The positive part is that, you know, when you look at some of these technologies, you don't need a smartphone. So you can use simple feature phone to access them. Joe Philip, before there's a question coming in, and it's about whether digital care can replace in-person care. What's your view on that?
And that's a very good question. We do believe that digital care can replace it to a large extent. With the advent of COVID, we've seen that people have started utilizing telemedicine to actually get treatment, effective treatment that is working. And that has been able to take a lot of the burden away from the doctors or the hospitals that don't necessarily have the right number of doctors to meet the demand for the patients, right? And we see that there has always been a very cumbersome process to actually get in care. You know, just finding a way to get to the hospital, filling out forms. Everything is so manual that it takes a while for you to see a doctor. But with technology, we made it convenient from your home to actually talk to a doctor of your choice when you're choosing. So I think a lot of people are finding the convenience and the ability to select their provider as really critical for their healthcare, right? So, and having a technology that also provides the doctors access to their patient's medical record at the same time. So I see no reason why people should be going to the hospital unless they need to actually go in for a particular procedure or do some type of additional checks that need some kind of physical presence. But as far as I'm concerned, I do believe that technology through telemedicine, and I'm sure there are new technologies being introduced that will be able to take care of people that are trying to do a virtual consultation versus a physical. So I do believe we're close to the point where we feel like you could have a full-on medical care journey through technology. However, though, it would take a little more time for us to be fully confident that, you know, you could do or get your care from your phone. I mean, like I said, it's a function of bringing additional technology in place to do some specific work that an inpatient visit could do, but also changing the mindsets of people to let them feel confident that, look, they could actually use their phones or their mobile device to get the kind of care and diagnosis that they require. So we believe that technology is here to stay. And in the near future, a lot more people will transition to telehealth. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks a lot. And the fact that technology will lead to marginalization of the poor, do you share that perspective?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, you know, I'll give an example. I have a family member of mine who lives in a remote part of Nigeria, right? And she is limited to the hospitals and the providers in that region. What technology is doing now, technology is obviously giving her an opportunity to talk to providers outside that region that she could trust. So, you know, regardless of your location, regardless of your socioeconomic status, you do have access to a provider that you could trust with technology.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks on that. If time allows, I will come back to this point because I still think it's important to hear from others. Ruan, there's a question about whether providing lending, financing to private healthcare facilities, if that will not lead to higher cost of care.
Sure, thank you, Kwasi. Yeah, I don't think that is necessarily the case. I think that, yeah, there's a correlation between quality and cost typically. But I think we have to be mindful that when we talk about access, you know, that's what we're really talking about. Our mandate is universal health coverage. So we're looking at getting everyone access to healthcare. But again, we want to make sure that it's quality healthcare. We don't just want people to get access to healthcare that is substandard. You know, I think that the investment that we're making and the funds that we're making available, again, our mandate is specifically, you know, in our KPIs that we measure ourselves on, it's not, you know, driven by profits, but driven by the access to quality healthcare and how many people are being served. And I think, you know, our latest research showed that 55% of our patients are from low and very low population groups. So that are being treated by the healthcare providers that we fund. So again, we're looking at that these healthcare providers are providing a critical, you know, service in those communities. And without getting access to these funds, you'll probably end up not having access to any type of healthcare. So again, you know, we want to create healthcare that is relevant to the markets that we serve. We want to create healthcare that, you know, provides the quality that is necessary for those communities. And I think we in Safe Care, and I think a lot of the work that we do there is specifically created to develop standards and quality relevant to the African and the markets that we service, and not to try and you know, implement standards that are necessarily unattainable or too expensive for the markets that we serve. So I think it really is you know, identifying you know, quality in the case of quality relevant to the markets that we serve, and ensuring that people get access to treatments and healthcare services that make sense to them, and you know, that everyone should actually have access to that healthcare and not just a limited number of people. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, and I'm also curious to know what other challenges you face in implementing medical credit fund or digital lending for that matter.
I know we're running short of time, so I'll just briefly touch on a couple. I think, you know, a number of the other panelists, Priya and you know, team have already touched it. I think data is obviously a critical part of the relationship that we have with our partners in country. I think, you know, when we talk about universal coverage, again, you know, majority of the population that we service in Africa, you know, are reliant on mobile technology to get access to digital infrastructure. So, you know, in those remote locations, you know, you typically don't have other forms of access. So they rely on whether it's USSD or, you know, mobile internet to access. And I think today, you know, if you look at sub-Saharan Africa, it's only 45% penetration of mobile and usage and services, and it will only reach 50% by 2025. So there's still a huge gap between people that have access to digital and digital channels Obviously, there are secondary, sharing of phones and things like that that are happening, but there's still a huge gap that needs to be addressed, and I think that's going to be important in the next couple of years. That there need to be policies and investment going into that area, and policies that drive a positive environment. And then I think just COVID has shown us that typically the market, the segment that we focus on, SMEs. They're much more prone to financial shocks. So, if COVID has definitely been a tough time over the last 2 years, and it's impacted the number of, patients and the cash flows of these healthcare providers. And I think that's where MCF can play a big part, and we have played a big part in ensuring sustainability and making sure that those healthcare providers have access to funds to get them through these times, and ensure that there's some financial resilience to these small and medium enterprises. So I'll leave it at that. I realize we're out of time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ruan, and certainly time is up. The conversation has been exciting, but before I end, would any panelists like to add anything to what they have said, or give a concluding remark? If not, then I would like to thank you very much for this conversation. And once again, sorry about the internet connection, but it's also a reflection of the time that we are in. We're traveling wherever we are, we should be able to connect. And so I think that's one of the advantages, but also the challenges. We've been having a conversation with our panelists, Shakila Kerre from FSD, Ruan Swanepoel from Medical Credit Fund, Joe Philip Nzewunwah from DiagnoStar, and Priya, Shah from CarePay. I see a lot of complementarities, across the work and that the four of you are doing. So hopefully you'll be able to connect and perhaps have a joint programming, who knows. For the audience, thanks a lot for your time. And the recording will be available, so those who couldn't join, also those who were in Cairo for this event will be able to watch it. Thanks a lot, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you.